Weiss, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
Really? She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired with actress Eliza Helm, who played young Cat Grant, or CJ Grant, in her earlier days on Supergirl. So welcome to Supergirl Radio, Eliza.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good to be here, guys.
We are so excited to have you. We're big fans of the Cat Grant character, and we were so grateful that CJ was able to appear in the final season of Supergirl, and we enjoyed your appearance. So we have lots of questions to ask you. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Sure.
And if anybody is watching in the live chat, and if you have a question for Eliza, feel free to drop it in the live chat, in the YouTube live chat, and we will get to or if you're watching on Facebook, you can leave a comment there. We'll see it too. But I guess to get us started, Eliza, we talk about comic book origins a lot with comic book characters in the comics and also on the show. So everybody's got an origin story. So, so what is your origin story? Where are you from, and how did you get into acting?
Yeah, I'm from LA, actually. Born and raised in LA and Hollywood. So I was born in the middle of it all. Started acting when I was 8, just doing like community theater. There was like a youth theater down the street. And so I did that with my twin sister, and then started getting into high school plays, and the rest is history.
Was there something that, was there a bug that bit you, like an acting bug? I know not like a physical insect.
Yeah. Did you get infected by something? Yeah, there's something, I think from the start, like there's just something about being on stage specifically where you feel so alive and so in the moment, and you're reacting so organically that you sort of can't live any more than when you're on stage. And so I think that feeling was kind of addictive. And then I love psychology, and just like human beings are fascinating to me. And so just getting to dive into the brain of a character was always really fun.
And so when you are looking at new scripts, new plays, new TV auditions, new films, whatever, what do you look for? What do you think is a good story when you're looking at something?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now a good story is something that's relevant. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and it's important to be telling good and solid stories that matter. I think in terms of what I look for a character, it's a strong female role, or something that I haven't really investigated yet, in terms of a character. So playing something that I haven't, and that was something that was really fun about CJ's, that, I had never embodied a character that had existed before, let alone been played by Callista Flockhart. So so that was a definite, when I got that audition, that was fascinating to dive into that whole world.
So speaking of the audition, how did that come about? Were there casting calls? Did someone give you a script? How did you find out about the audition?
Just the normal, my rep got called in for the whole process, and I got the audition, and I knew her. I'd watched the show before, and so I was like, oh my God, young Callista Flockhart. But I wouldn't think, someone was like, would you look like a young Callista Flockhart? And I was like, no, probably not. And then I was like, well, I don't know. Like, you can't really be an actor and be like, no, that's not me. So I was like, maybe. The more I thought about it, and got the audition, and then I really dove in. I think I got it on a Thursday night and it was due on a Monday. And so that weekend, I actually went out and I got the wig, and I got like this tight skirt and like a chunky necklace, because her style is so specific that I was like, great, if I'm gonna go out for this, like I gotta look the part. I'm a redhead, like I'm not used to the blonde thing. So got a wig and made it look as cat-like as possible, and worked it with my coach and did the tape, and that was it. It was just one tape. Yeah.
What was it like auditioning during COVID? I find that so interesting. We've talked to a couple of different people who've talked about like putting themselves onto tape for because you can't go in front of the casting directors like normally you would be able to.
Right. I mean, I think that's part of the getting the wig and like really going for it, because it is kind of harder to stand out because you can't have a personal relationship. I think there are pluses and minuses. I think you get to work on it as much as you want, and you get to do as many takes as you can, which is great. But it also sort of takes some of the, there's a sort of like transcendent thing when you're actually performing in front of people that I think takes you to a new level of performance. So it's how do you generate that when you don't have an audience? I think that's been difficult. But largely, I think we're just really lucky to be able to do our job through the internet.
And I'm curious, you talked about putting together the costume and the clothing. Did you take certain characteristics or behaviors of Callista's cat into the audition? Yeah. And did that change when you actually played her in front of a camera?
Gosh, she was so much fun to study. I mean, she's just so specific with the arms and the mannerisms, and I studied her. I mean, that was like Callista Flockhart weekend. Like it was just little did she know, just me like studying her character and figuring out because again, that's the challenging part of this role, is that you're not just playing your interpretation of this comic book character, you're playing something that's already been played. And so I think that was almost the most important, and a character that people love so much. It's like, you really have to get those things down. So I spent a lot of time on the walk. I spent a lot of time, I had in my audition, I had the purse that's always like in the corner of the elbow. And, her cadence is really interesting. It's this sort of like rhythm that I don't do naturally, so I had to study that. And I definitely tried to bring in as many Callista mannerisms as I could to the audition.
It was definitely recognizable to a lot of us. We could definitely see Callista in there.
Oh, good. And
you mentioned having seen parts of the show. So were you already watching it before you auditioned?
Yeah, I was a fan. I wouldn't watch like every week, but I love the superhero shows, and I have a couple friends who've been on Supergirl, and so I've watched their episodes, and I've definitely seen it before.
And we try to ask this question as kind of a baseline for everybody who comes on Supergirl Radio. What was your familiarity with the character of Supergirl? Did you know about Supergirl before the show? Or okay. So the show is your first
time. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't I was like a Pokemon and like board games girl. Like I didn't really grow up doing the comic book thing much. So it was the show. It was the first exposure.
That's very cool. So was it, we've talked to some people, Isabella, Olivia, they talked about, they had a really quick turnaround with the audition process. Was that, did you find the same thing with your experience?
I didn't actually. Mine, it's so interesting because like we had a lot of time backstage. So we've talked about that. No, I got mine in September and booked the part, I think, like a week later. And then we shot starting in November. So I had it for a little while.
Go ahead. I was going to say, oh, wow, that's really different. Because when we talked to Isabella and Olivia, I think they were saying that like when they got Midvale, they got it. And then they like a couple of days later, they were on set basically filming.
Yeah. No, it was, I think, part of it, I think, is the COVID of it all. That everything is like a little, or at least back then was like a little bit more planned out. And just because it's such a, iconic character, you have to make sure that you have time to find the right person. So I had a lot of time, which was great because, I didn't have to like drop everything and run to Vancouver. But also it's a lot of time between booking it and actually performing. So when we were on set, I was definitely ready to go.
And we spoke with Claude Knowlton previously on Supergirl Radio, and he talked about as a guest star, he had certain abilities to kind of talk to the hair and makeup people about what his hair might look like, or kind of certain things about his look. Did you have input in the kind of things that Kat would wear, or what she should look like?
Well, we started by I actually brought my wig up to Vancouver because they were like, hey, your wig's great. Like, let's try that on. Didn't end up using it, which I think is good. Used a much better one. But it actually started, I don't think I had like much say, but I definitely got to say like, this feels better than this. This is more comfortable, for the second costume was going to be worn for a long time. So I was like, if we're going to, let's do a more comfortable one for the second one, like pants, let's do that. But they have a very clear idea. Jessica Queller is very involved in all the costumes and the hair and the makeup. And so no, they have a whole system going there. And I mean, the people in hair and in makeup, but the people in hair are like, they're so good at their job. They like, they did the whole wig. I came in, I got it fitted. They do the whole latex cap thing. Yeah, there she is. They do the latex cap thing, and they had to curl it and they had to cut it. And so it was a big process. And that's actually where I met Liv and Bella, was in the hair and makeup truck as we were getting fitted for our wigs.
Oh, that's interesting. So did you get to spend time with them? I mean, you spent a lot of time in scenes with them, with young Cara and young Alex and young Kendall Lee.
Kendall.
So what was it like shooting with that cast, with everybody kind of being the young versions of some of the characters that we know on the show?
Yeah, well, it was fun because they had been there before, and obviously, and so they knew each other. And I mean, Liv and Bella are kind of like sisters; like they really get along. And so that was wonderful to come into. They're both really, really welcoming and like positive and lovely. And so that was really lovely to come into. And we would like go to dinner in Vancouver, and it was around Christmas. And so we did some Christmassy things. We're all really into Christmas. And so we like got around and watched Christmas movies. Hallmark is really big up in Vancouver. So definitely watched some Hallmark. And it was also just nice to know in quarantine that like, there were these people in the building that like, because you're in the room for 2 weeks. So it was nice to know that like, okay, people are here that like I'm gonna know and love. But yeah, they're really wonderful, and Peter's also really great. And I mean, the whole cast and crew was just really. It's a special group. Everyone's so positive and so good at their jobs, but that's sort of like a foregone conclusion. They're just so kind, like everyone, all of the cast and all of the crew, and Cole and Jesse, and we're really welcoming. And I think that was maybe the best part was all of the people and getting to spend time with them. The first episode, though, I didn't spend as much time. Second episode was more. First time was like me tracking them down. And so, are they here? No. Are they here? No. And so I didn't see much of them until the second episode.
Yeah, no, in the second episode, CJ is kidnapped and abducted on an alien spaceship. So she gets a lot more to do in that second
all in a day's work, right?
Big day for her.
So I guess we have a question in here I thought we would get to, since we talked a little bit about the wardrobe. Claudia asks, did you get to keep any of Kat's wardrobe? Did you take anything from the set?
Well, I kept the I didn't keep any of the clothing because they're all like St. John, like fancy clothing. But I did keep that little, the napkin at the end of the episode where she draws. I kept that.
Oh, yeah.
And we framed that, which is
that's so cool.
So someone did it. I don't know who did it. But they were amazing. So I kept that as a little memento.
That's such a perfect
That's a perfect thing to bring. It's so funny that you point out about the wardrobe, because a lot of times I'll see something that the car is like wearing. And I'm like, oh, I love that. How much is that? And then it's like several $1,000s. I'm like Cara could afford that, please. She doesn't even show up to work.
I know, totally. I mean, and trying on the clothes I actually had 2 fittings. And the first fitting was amazing. But the second fitting, they had just gone to like all of these stores and pulled things. And so they were like, how about this? How about that? We just got this morning. I was like, oh, this is a new experience.
So there were a couple of different outfits for CJ Grant. So it was good to see that she was still, even at the Daily Planet, even before she gets to Catco Worldwide Media, she was really paying attention to her fashion and really trying to brand herself in what she was wearing.
The statement necklaces are huge for her, I think.
It's where a lot of her power comes from, is those big chunky necklaces.
That in the bag, exactly.
In the bag, yeah.
The bag is bigger than the necklace.
Did you have any conversations with directors or writers about the character and how to portray her? Were there any pieces of direction that you got that were helpful to you while you were portraying her?
Any pieces of direction? No, I mean, I think, I sort of came in there with, they would say things like, oh, that was really Cat, and so I would know that that's what I was supposed to chase after. But they really let me like be free within the character and the body of the character. And I think they weren't so prescriptive. They mostly just like, if I would have they encouraged flourishes and mannerisms, which I appreciated and I think was good for the character, but they would like, kick you down that road a little bit, which was really helpful. Also, just like Kyler knows the character so well that it was so wonderful to be on set with her, because she knows, when she says, you're like, oh, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I was reading, and let me know if this is not correct, but you went to Second City, right? You're a graduate of Second City Improv. Mm-hmm. That's a highly respected improv institution. Yeah. So I was curious because CJ Grant has a lot of comedic bits that are, really played for comedy. So I was wondering if your improv experience helped you with that at all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think mostly what we were just talking about, the mannerisms and the once I knew enough about her character and like her verbal tics and stuff, you can throw those in and just sort of like add the flourishes to the ends of the lines. I think mostly it was the buttons that I had fun with, like the button of the scene, to just, to add something like go or whatever, some little Cat thing that I felt free to have fun with. And I think a lot of that comes back to sort of the confidence from Second City and learning to like think on my feet there. And I think it's always helpful. I think improv is always helpful.
Morgan and I have done a little improv. We have a friend who shout out to Bill Meeks.
I'm not sure how well we did it, but it was done.
Doesn't matter.
But he had an audio sketch comedy podcast that we both did voice performances for. And so my question to you, Eliza, is what advice would you give to somebody doing improv? Because it's hard. It is not easy.
Improv is hard. I mean, honestly, I like sketch more than I like improv, which is part of why I liked Second City, was that in the conservatory there, we got into the writing and we got into the sketch of it all. For improv, I mean, I think, especially for type A people, it's so easy to get into your own way and to like let your brain get ahead of you. And so, I think really trying to stay in the moment and trying to like not get ahead of it is helpful. And leaning into the character. I think that's always the most fun part for me is finding the character and then figuring out, what would she say here? Just sort of like going with it and not judging yourself. Not judging yourself, which is hard, as you go.
Yeah, there was a lot of judgment on myself about it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I was judging myself pretty hard.
I mean, of course. And you come off and you're like, oh my God, why did you say that? Like, it's a Miata, not a Honda. It's like, so I think that's really easy. But I also think, like, did you guys do a class together?
No, we just it was a unique experience. It was voice acting with just audio over Zencaster, I think it was. So
Gotcha.
it was just doing.
And we
lines.
had like scripts and characters, but then our friend Bill would be like, "Okay, we did that. Like, just give me a couple of different like scenarios for this thing, and I'll see if I'll use one of it." And so you'd just be like,
Totally. And I think, it sounds like you were doing it with a friend, which like that's always helpful. Like,
it helped.
Yeah, like knowing them and trusting that they're going to choose the best take and whatever.
Yes. That's very important.
Helpful, yes.
Yes. We do have some more questions in the chat while we're here. Maddie asks, how long did it take you to film each episode?
About 10 days.
Okay.
So we were in quarantine for 2 weeks, and then it was about like a week, maybe a little less of hair and makeup, and then 10 days per episode.
And let's see, there was another question that I thought was a really good one, and I'm curious about your answer, Eliza. So M1L1 asks, is there any way that you relate to Cat Grant? Are you similar in any ways?
That is a good question. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I think there's a very determined, driven, on herself part of Kat that I can definitely relate to. She's very ambitious. I'm very ambitious. I think that she's also actually really sensitive, and she cares deeply about people and like everything. Like I that was actually an interesting part of the character for me to investigate, was because she's so harsh to so many people, but I think she actually really cares, and you see that in her and Kara's relationship. And I definitely feel that for the people that are my people. I hold them dear, and I would fight for them, and I think she does that for the people she loves too.
Yeah, I've always thought that about, and we'll talk about Kat's relationship with Lois Lane in Snap Judgments.
For sure.
But I've always thought that her detest of Lois Lane was actually really secretly a respect for her. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, and insecurity, and I think it all comes back. I think it's all the emotional things that she's sort of like keeping down, and then she tries to keep this facade of fully together on the surface. And that's why she's interesting to watch, is because she's so much deeper than just the facade.
Yes, 100%. And we talked a little bit about improv, but when you're studying a script, I'm always curious, because I'm not an actress, but I'm curious about how actors process their scripts. Do you make notes? Do you write backstories for the characters? When somebody gives you a script, what do you do with it?
Yeah, I memorize it first, just because I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to have the words be so organic that like I forget that they're not mine. And then I actually journal. Journaling is really helpful for me to sort of get in the mindset of the character. And I'll write out how I'm feeling about that. My journal must just be crazy. If anyone found it, it would be absurd, because it's like, every character, their motivation, how they feel about everyone and everything that's going on. And, Perry White's the worst. And, so really getting into their mentality there. And I feel like that's a good way for me to just sort of like brain dump about the character and get into their mindset. So I do that. And then I do all the stuff I learned in theater school of like finding the beats and doing scene study and figuring out how the scene goes, and sort of why is this scene here for the rest of the show, and what are we trying to show about the character? What are we trying to show about, the other characters through this character being here? And then for this one, just watching a lot of Calista Flockhart.
I know that journal is probably private for you, but I would love to read it. That would be so cool.
Right? Sounds amazing.
One day we'll like publish little excerpts
from the Journal of Cat Grant.
Right, exactly.
And I'm curious. Did you did a lot of study of Cat on the show, but did you know anything about Cat Grant, the comic book character, before you auditioned?
Not really. No. I not huge into comics before. So no.
Yeah, Kat's an awesome character. If you ever want to dig into her comic book mythology, she was at the Daily Planet. She did work under Perry White. She was a gossip columnist. She did have a son. I can't remember in the comics if she had multiple sons. On the show, she has 2 sons. But yeah, she has a lot of very interesting and surprising interactions with Supergirl sometimes. So I
tried to I dug more into the story. Like I didn't actually get my hands on a comic book, which I would love. But it dug more into her history. And does she go to LA to be a gossip columnist too? Is that?
I'm not sure about that. I just know her in the Metropolis area. If you ever get curious and you want to check out a good Cat and Supergirl story, you should check out the Sterling Gates run of Supergirl. I'll try to find the titles for you. But they team up to go after a baddie, and Supergirl kind of wins her over in the end. So it's very, very much kind of, I think, what they based Callista's Cat on. So
nice. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to see that.
I highly recommend that. And since we've been talking to some other actors who were in the Midvale flashback episodes, Prom Night and Prom Again, just a 2-parter, not a trilogy. And we've been asking them, for example, if a Midvale or a flashback series of Supergirl was being greenlit, and you got the chance to go back and dig back into young CJ Grant, are there aspects of her history, of her life, that you would want to explore with that character if you got another chance to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think her at that point in her career is almost more interesting than her at the point that we find her in Supergirl, because she is building her career and she's hungry and she's not a boss yet. And so how does she become that? How does she get to that place? How, what motivates her? And I think one thing that I love about her character is that she is a motivated, driven young woman trying to come up professionally. And there are a lot of impediments to that. And so how does she overcome those? And, obviously one is Perry White, but what does she do to create who we see in Supergirl? Because I think often we find that kind of a character at the end of their journey where they're at the height of their career, like the Miranda Priestleys, et cetera, when they're already powerful, but we don't see that journey as much. And so I think that would be what I'd be interested to dig into, is how she got to where she is in Supergirl.
Yeah, how does she become the queen of all media? She, Catco is a magazine, it's a newspaper, it's a radio station.
Catco is really, if you think about it, a state of mind more than anything.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that's deep, Morgan.
Thank you.
Well, what was your favorite experience about Supergirl? If somebody was to ask you, what did you get out of going up there and being young CJ Grant? What would you tell them?
The best thing out of the experience shooting up there?
Yeah. Or the shooting and portraying the character. I don't know if those are 2 different things in your mind, but either one.
Totally. I think the relationships, I think really being on set with that group of people was really wonderful, and it isn't always like that. And so that was really special. I also think, I had never acted with a spaceship before. And so being in, you're in the middle of the forest and the lights are everywhere and they're towering above you and it's raining and trees abound. And then you walk out onto set and there's this spaceship and, and Maxim's walking off of it and the smoke is coming out. That wasn't CGI, that really happened. And they're all dressed up and, it's just so... when in life is that going to happen? but for on Supergirl. And so that I think that really will stick with me. I also think Kyler's direction. Kyler was really good at object work. And, you know, if you throw the rock, like when we were throwing the rock, the spaceship actually wasn't there. It was just a field. And so she had some really good pointers for how to throw the rock and sort of react and create that scene for the audience that I think I'm gonna bring forward as an actor too. So.
That's really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you need to use your imagination on Supergirl. They have alien dragons and all kinds of things on the show. So.
Oh my God. And having Kyler, who's like, she's like, I got you. Like, let me show you. So like when this happened, you know, she knows exactly, she's been there. And so, so that was just really, really helpful and wonderful.
Yeah, I was going to ask what it was like being directed by Kyler, because obviously she's been there from the beginning and she's worked with Callista back in the first season. But she's also, you know, she knows, if anyone knows the show, it's going to be her.
Yes. Yeah, she was great. Kyler was her vision was so clear. She knows the show so well. She's a really like calm and steady energy, which is what you want on set. And so, you know, there were 1,000 things for her to be doing. And she was just very good at sort of like compartmentalizing and being like, okay, now I'm talking to you. Now I'm talking to you. And it was wonderful to see her and Liv chatting and like being, you know, I think such a wonderful experience for Liv to like have the old version of her on set. That was super cool. And yeah, I think most of what I really appreciated about her was just her direct focus and her energy was just so wonderful.
Yeah, you almost have to have that in an episode where there's so much time travel. There's a lot of different timelines going on. Yeah, I imagine you need to focus.
And you're obviously not shooting in sequence. And so she would be like, all right, no, this is exactly where we are. And we're like, okay. Now we're all on the same page, you know? So she was just so on it. And, you know, obviously she and Jesse and Nicole know each other really well. And everyone, you know, the whole crew was really supportive of her because they know her and love her. And what's not to love? She's wonderful.
And I guess since you mentioned Nicole has a scene with you as Nia and a young CJ Grant. I keep wanting to say Nicole. Nia, who is the character on the show.
Right.
She was introduced on the show having been an acquaintance of Kat's. Kat recommended that she come to Catco and get a job there. So what was that like, having that scene with Nicole where Nia basically gives CJ a pep talk to be her best Cat Grant? So so did you all talk about that relationship at all?
You know, that was an interesting scene because we weren't supposed to shoot it until Monday. And I woke up Thursday or Friday and I got a call and they were like, hey, can you do it today? And so we hadn't had time to like go over that scene really. So it was really just sort of doing it live. And I mean, Nicole's the greatest and she obviously knows Nia so well. And so that was a fun scene because it was like, we weren't, you know, maybe as prepared as we could have been. And that's sort of that energy that gets you to that next level. And so that was really nice to have Nicole there for that. And she was great at the pep talk. I loved having the pep talk on the other foot, you know, like I feel like CJ is the one with the pep talks. Great to have her have a pep talk for me, you know, and amazing to have Kat actually listen for a change. And yeah, that was a very fun scene.
That's actually one of, I don't know, I can't speak for Morgan, but that's one of my favorite scenes in that episode, just because of the foreshadowing of what's going to happen. Yeah. You know, you're friends with Oprah. I'm friends with Oprah. You know, that kind of stuff. So I would never have been able to tell that you are not prepared for that. Because I think it does lend to the we don't know who each other is kind of vibe in the scene. So I think it turned out really well.
Right. Yeah. I think it actually, I feel like it helped, if anything. You know, we had weeks with the scenes. So it's like we knew the lines. It was just like having that energy sort of bring it to the next level. And yeah, I agree. I think it turned out well. It was a good one.
Let's see. We do have one more question. So Claudia asks, any memorable bloopers during filming that you want to share? Any funny things that happened on set while you were there?
Oh my gosh. Well, the guys, Maxim and Mitch are just hilarious. So that was really just fun being on set with them, and they're wearing all these furs and things. And so they were having a lot of fun with that, which is fun for the rest of us. Bloopers, I can't think of any sort of bloopers that happen. I mean, it's part of the show and being on the show is that you have to imagine a lot of CGI. And so that's all, for me with the cat, it was like, creating the cat sort of with your eyes. Like that's always, that doesn't always go right the first time. And, we had a couple with the steam and whatnot that comes when they come off the ship. We had a couple like, oh, it was early. The thing came early. And so, everybody go back. And, but no huge bloopers that I can really remember. It's a pretty tight ship up there.
So are you telling me that the pink cougar is not real? I'm so disappointed.
I'm not saying anything of the sort. I mean, wouldn't you? And that statue, the one at Catco, like that big paint, I'm like, I want that. Like, I just want that in my house. Napkin's great, but like, I want that in my house. Thank you.
It is great. Well, I think, let's see. I think we do have one last question. Let's see. Nathan asks, besides acting, what do you like to do in your off time when you're not in front of a camera?
Such a good question. I'm learning how to make bread, which is a whole thing. Yeah, it's good.
It's popular now. It's a COVID activity. I feel like
I know.
Everybody's got their sourdough starters.
I got my starter. My sister actually got it, and I stole some of it. It's so weird having like a live creature in your fridge. You're like, I gotta feed my starter, and it's like treating it like a child. So I'm doing bread. That's fun. And I'm planning my wedding. I just got engaged, and so
congratulations!
Doing a lot of that. Thank you. I mean, who knows where to start.
I'm towards the end of that process. My wedding's next month. Actually, terrifyingly enough.
That's so exciting. So are you like pretty? You're like doing well with it? Everything's pretty.
Let's say yes.
Like there will be something last minute, but yeah,
I had my shower like last weekend, and then the panic started to set in. I was like, oh no, it's so close.
For sure. Well, yeah, we've been dating for a long time, and so, but I have no idea what I want for anything.
Yeah, no, I was not one of those people, like one of those girls who has like the whole book where it's like, these are all my wedding ideas. No. I was just like, I don't know.
100% no idea. And
flowers are expensive, it turns out. Oh God, that's my free advice to you. Everything is expensive. Flowers are really expensive.
That's what I've been saying. I'm like, great, we'll go to Trader Joe's and like we'll do it. So I'm doing a lot of that. I have a garden. I sound really domestic now, but the COVID of it all sort of made that happen. Yeah. So I've been planting things and trying to defend them from the squirrels.
Yeah, that's the trick when you're gardening, especially if you're doing vegetables. The creatures like to come up and eat them. So
they do. I know squirrels are also like brilliant little animals. So like, keeping things away from them is very difficult.
Well, I hope that you are able to protect everything that you're growing.
I will not be able to, but I will definitely try.
Speaking of creatures, we do have a question about pets. Do you have any pets?
No. I'm an aunt to many dogs, and my parents have a dog. And so I sort of, we're talking about fostering coming up. Yeah, which I just feel like is like we're slowly tiptoeing into getting a dog, which is ultimately what we want. But I'm not really a cat person. I didn't grow up with cats. They're very slinky. Like whenever you pick them up, they just like fall, and I like don't know what to do with it.
It's really true.
And I'm like, the first time I picked one up, and then I dropped it, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry," but it was
what is this?
Right, it's so strange. And like dogs are like they're strong little
dogs
creatures.
are sturdy. Dogs are.
Yeah,
it's funny.
exactly.
It's funny. During the pandemic, we adopted cats, and I had always been a dog person, but my fiance loves cats, so I was like, all right, cats are easier in a condo anyway. But then, yeah, you're right. The first time I picked it up, I was like, am I doing this right?
right. That's exactly how I feel, and I feel like I don't know what its signs are. Like with my parents' dog, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's up. Like I know when you want to be away from me, or like when you want to be near me. Like I can read you. Cats, I'm like, I don't. Do you trust me? Do I trust you? Like, how is this whole thing going? So I did meet a dog-like cat this weekend, and so I'm opening up my mind to cats. It certainly is easier,
I think since we got our cats during the pandemic, we forced them to basically become dogs. So they will sleep on my lap, and they kind of want to be in whatever room we're in. Because I was like, I don't want to get an animal that's not going to love me. Like that's the whole point,
right? That's the worry is like your cat's not going to care if you're there or not. I'm like, I want someone who needs me, and like a dog needs me.
Exactly. So it's like I kidnapped them until they loved me because I was just always around, and they had no other choice.
Exactly. Have you started being more of a cat person now, or would you still think you're a dog person?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm both now. I do love the cats. They're mostly decent cats. They usually at least one of them will walk by every live stream that we do just to make his presence known. So.
Of course, he's like, I'm here, by the way.
Hello.
His little tail,
he usually stops tail right to the camera, and I have to push him off.
That's really.
I'm a little concerned we haven't seen them. I don't know if they're up to.
They're probably ripping open a bag of food right now.
Curses.
All right. So I think that's it from the chat for now. Shall we play some Snap Judgments?
Yes.
We have some Cat Grant, some CJ Grant related Snap Judgments. So we'll play an intro video and then we'll get started. In the game of Snap Judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Got it.
So our first Snap Judgment is, who is the greater foe for CJ Grant, Naxum Torque or Lois Lane?
Emotionally,
Lois Lane. Physically,
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. I think that she maybe I think she has more of a beef with Lois. I think she handled Naxum pretty well. I don't think he was ever really any concern for her. But Lois is always kind of grinding her gears. So I would say Lois.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to go Lois too, because I don't think that Naxum Torque is going to get any awards that are going to make her mad that she didn't get. So,
right.
Lois Lane can just continuously make her mad, over time.
The worst.
How many Pulitzers does she need?
Yeah, right.
Okay, who gave the better motivational speech? CJ Grant inspiring Kenny Lee, or Nia Nall inspiring young CJ Grant?
CJ Grant inspiring Kenny Lee. I feel like after that, we start making it all come together, and that. Oh, it was a pretty pivotal. I don't need to explain CJ Grant.
I'm actually going to go CJ in that instance as well, because I think Kenny Lee, I think he needed that speech in that moment, and she really inspired him to sort of pick himself back up. And I think that's what he needed in that moment.
Yeah, I'm going to be controversial, and I'm going to go Nia, because I think it led us to the cat we know and love. It was the push that she needed to be like, you know what, Perry White, I don't need you. First step of my media conglomerate.
That's real.
Sketching on that
napkin. They're both great speeches,
So that's the time travel question. If Nia hadn't given that speech, what would have happened? What would have happened to CJ?
I think she would have discovered Supergirl and everything would have ended. Like nothing would be the way it is now. Supergirl, it would have been clear that she was Kara. Like the whole story would have been outed. So thank God for Nia. Am I right?
Morgan makes a good, compelling argument.
Okay, so what does Cat Grant hate more? Whole milk in her lattes or eating at Chipotle?
Eating at Chipotle. She hates eating at Chipotle. Like being around all those people, like germs. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I think she's almost spit out some lattes before when she didn't like them. So I don't know. Both of these examples, by the way, are canonically examples of things she does not like.
Yeah, pretty bad.
I'm going to say lattes because a cat is very dependent on the latte, I think.
Very specific about like the degree that she wants her milk at too. So
yes.
The idea of Cat Grant standing in line at a Chipotle and then walking down the line, picking out what needs to go in her burrito is, I can't imagine it. There's no scenario in which that ever happens. So I'm going Chipotle.
I actually would love to see that now. What would she do?
There's no Cat's not like extra cheese, please. Like that's never happening. Like,
no. Like a little Tabasco sauce and putting it on her thing. Like, no.
Yes, I would like the side of guac. Like it's not happening. Okay. Kat asked Siri where the happiest place on Earth was, and instead of taking her to a Disney park, Siri told her to go to a yurt in the Himalayas. Which would you rather do? Go to a Disney park or to the Himalayas to vacation in a yurt?
Disney park. I feel like I would be with my brain way too much in the Himalayas, and I haven't been to like a Disney place in a long time. So right now that sounds amazing to me.
My only question would be, okay, so if we go with the yurt, do I have a restroom nearby? And do I have a heater in the yurt?
Is there a shower in the yurt?
Good question. I think no to all of these things.
I think that's the answer.
Am I just roughing it the whole time?
You're having a spiritual journey, Rebecca, so there's no showers.
Wait, you don't need things, you only need yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would be great with the landscape. I would be into that. I just don't think I could rough it in a yurt. So I'm probably going to say Disney Park.
Great.
I'm definitely going to say Disney, both because I love Disney and because I think I could only like camp if it was glamping. It would be like the episode of Parks and Recreations where Tom goes to camp, but then he gets the entire Sharper Image catalog. Like that yurt did not look like it had audio visual hookups. And so I think
there's no Wi-Fi.
We actually recently went camping and I brought a air mattress. And I was like, oh, this is my kind of camping. I can do this.
Nice. Yes. Some creature comforts is really all I'm asking for.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Which is the more creative mispronunciation of a name? Kendall for Kenny Lee or Kira for Cara Danvers?
Kira. I love Kira. It's so fun to say. Kendall is like Kendall. I mean, it's like demeaning to Dear Kenny, but like Kira, there's so much to do with it.
Yeah, I like Kira. It's so close to Cara, but it sounds very different. So I give her props for being able to make it its own name. So I definitely have a lot of love for Kira.
I like Kendall just because it's so it's so wild. It's doesn't even seem like it would possibly be his name, and so it's like she's literally not even trying. Like no matter how many times he tells her, she's like, no, Kendall, listen to me. I like that. I like the energy of being like, I've renamed you. This one's better. Okay, which of these celebrity encounters that Kat Grant experienced would you prefer to have?
Okay.
Meeting Bill Gates at a party or brokering peace between Taylor Swift and Kanye West?
Oh, brokering peace for sure. Because that's like you're in it, you're like involved, you're like going between person to person, you're really talking instead of like, what's up, Bill? And like that's sort of the end of it. So, and like you have a wonderful effect on, the course of mankind. So.
It's very important to broker peace between those two.
Yeah.
I think I could broker peace between Kanye and T Swift. I think I could do it. I think at the end of the time with me, they would be collaborating. They would be making a track together. They would
that's even next level, Rebecca.
They'd be shooting a music video. It would win at the what do they call them? The VMAs. And of course, they would probably fight over who gets to do the acceptance.
But then you broke the piece again, and
it's just a cycle. Like you just,
but then you just keep getting back in there.
Right. Rebecca's a professional mediator now. So
exactly. Yeah, that's what I would do too. I mean, I think that one's a no-brainer. And then you can always tell people like, oh yeah, how Taylor and Kanye are like tight now. Well, like I did that.
Right.
I don't want to brag on myself, but like it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up on Snap Judgments. We'll play an outro video and then we'll come back and say goodbye to Eliza and we'll keep going with Supergirl Radio. No judgments on your Snap Judgments. All right, that is going to do it for our time with Eliza. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing some of your time, being so generous to us. What's the best way for our listeners and our viewers to keep up with you? And do you have any projects that people should be looking out for?
I think Instagram's the way to go. I'm pretty, oh, wow, look at that. I think that's the way to go. And I think right now I'm writing things and in the process of pitching those. So mostly things rolling on the writing front right now. So
very, very cool.
Oh, that's fun. That's like a different set of like muscles kind of that you have to do.
Yeah, it is. It's so fun. I mean, it's the nerdy Northwestern side of me that I love. So yeah.
Well, we wish you all the best in the future. We'll be looking out for what you do next. But thank you specifically for your time with Supergirl Radio and for portraying a young CJ Grant in the final season of Supergirl. We enjoyed her thoroughly.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and I'm glad you enjoyed. Great talking to you.
All right. We're going to do some plugs and we'll be right back. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio, Superman and Lois Radio, The Flash Podcast, and Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, Black Lightning Podcast, Batwoman Podcast 2, and Titans and Doom Patrol Podcast just for you. Justice League Dark Podcast, Green Lantern Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Strange Adventures Podcast, and finally my favorite of the bunch, DC TV After Dark, where you're allowed to say fuck.
That is one of the things that you can do on DC TV Podcast After Dark, or is it just DC After Dark?
Yeah,
I think I made it longer than it was.
TV, no. Oh no! I
started to question my
TV After Dark. Okay. No, we're good. We're back here.
I made you question everything.
We're back here. We know the name of podcasts. Everything's great.
I started to blank for a second. I was like, "What? What is it? What is happening here?" So that's on me, really. Well, speaking of the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, we do have some Cat Grant designs in the store. So if you are interested in that, definitely go check out the
keep coming, chop.
So definitely check that out if you want some Cat Grant gear. There's also some Catco Worldwide Media designs in there. So if you're interested, definitely check those things out. And in terms of Supergirl Radio stuff, we do have a few news items, I guess is the proper way to say. We do have some news items to share and discuss. So I guess we should get to
The news.
All right. On July 9th, Helen Slater posted to Instagram writing, quote, "On my way to Canada, hashtag Supergirl finale." So this was an interesting development that I noticed on Instagram. And here's the post. And I know we could speculate on, why is Helen Slater going back? What's Eliza Danvers doing? I'm glad that Eliza may be getting some time in the finale. That's good to know. But also, Morgan, I want you to look at how many books she has in her suitcase.
So this is what my suitcase is going to look like when I go to Mexico. I've already been like looking around going, is like 7 books too many books to bring? So I respect this. I truly respect this. It looks like she's bringing a lot of books about like fairy tales too, which is super interesting. I wonder if she's working on some sort of project involving that, or if she's just like into fairy tales.
Yeah, she might be doing some research. I'm just super jealous she has enough time to read all of that. I'm still struggling to read a book. Just
you're gonna get it though. I believe in you.
Just the one. That's always my goal every year. Just read that one book. It's not even that long, Rebecca. Just read it.
Every year I take my Goodreads goal and I knock a couple books off of it, and I'm like, this is the year I'm finally gonna hit it. And every year I'm wrong. So I respect people who can like go somewhere and bring 10 books and read them all. That's impressive.
Donna says that Helen is studying for her doctorate.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So she's bringing the books because she's studying something.
She's going to be Dr. Slater, Dr. Helen Slater.
I mean, does Helen Slater need to be cooler? I don't know that that's fair to the rest of us.
Getting your doctorate is a lot of work, so good for her.
Yeah, seriously.
And Claudia says that Eliza might be going to a potential Alex and Kelly wedding. That could be happening.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
We'll see if they remember things like adopting children and things. We'll see if that comes
they
back.
Won't. Okay, so thanks to SuperQuinn19 on Instagram for the heads up about this next bit of news. Authentic Supergirl costumes were on display behind the glass of the new Warner Brothers Studios store during the Warner Brothers Studios Tour Hollywood Media Preview in Burbank, California on June 24th, 2021. So I have to say, I don't know that this is new.
Is it not?
Because I mean, it's a good catch, but I think when I was there in 2019, I think I took a picture next to the statue.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. I did. I'm pretty sure I said, "Hey, you gotta get this picture of me for the podcast," and then clearly never posted it. So it's really important, guys. Take this picture, and then I didn't post it. But I'm pretty sure I saw this in the store because I thought it was really cool that they had like a bunch of like Supergirl stuff. If you look in the corner of the picture, actually, you can see it looks like another Supergirl in the background too.
Oh yeah, in the right, it looks like the Linda Danvers Supergirl with the white top and the sort of blue skirt there. Yeah, I mean, it could be the case that they just wheel Supergirl out there occasionally and just put her in front of the store, see what happens. Maybe they just drop her out there.
Maybe they just wheel her in and out. They're like, Supergirl, it's your time now. Get out there.
They're like, we haven't made a sale in a while. Get the Supergirl out there and draw people in. Yeah, so I don't know if this was a new thing. I don't know how long, if it's still there. I don't know if it's going to be there for a certain amount of time. The article was not very helpful. I don't know what other costumes were inside the store, if there were. So that I feel like we have some news, but not really, because we don't really know anything about it. But I just thought we might talk about it, just to put it out there if you wanted to see that picture. Okay, and also today, Funko of the Pop Funko fame revealed a new Martian Manhunter Pop, which is part of their DC Imperial Palace series, which I don't know much about, but this is what he looks like. He's super cute. And,
he's so cute.
So I don't know how exactly this is purchasable. But if you want to check it out, I think they've been sailing. They've been selling some of the DC Imperial Palace pops on Amazon, so you might be able to find them there. You probably find them kind of wherever, but these are new, I believe, the Deathstroke and the Martian Manhunter. So if you're into Pop Funko collecting, this might be your next purchase, because I think they did a good job of incorporating his suit's colors into that costume, so he looks like he fits the bill.
Very colorful. He looks great. Also, Rebecca, I just sent it to you, but I did find it. I found it in the depths of my phone. Supergirl indeed was there in November 2019. In the before times, there's me and there's Supergirl. And as I made people take this picture, I yelled, "It's for the podcast. I need it for the podcast." And then I clearly never posted it. So just wanted to clear that up.
Oh, that is amazing.
I'm starring this now. It's going to be my new favorite picture.
So I guess that confirms that every now and then they just wheel
they just wheel it out. Then they put her away. They wheel her back out. They're like back into storage with you.
Oh man.
2020 was a dark time for her as well. In storage.
She really wants that people time. She wants to be social with people. Oh, that is funny. I'm so glad you found that. That's amazing.
I was like, I'm sure that this happened to me. But everything before the pandemic kind of feels like a dream now. So I wasn't sure. So I had to look through.
Did life even exist before 2020?
I was like, what was this? Socializing?
That's classic. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we should get to thinking our Supergirl Radio Legion of Super Sponsors. That would be Michael, Sam, Anne Marie, Grout, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, Abby, Irmgard, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, Lizeth, Deb, Susan, Naomi, and V. Brewster. Thank you all for your support of the podcast. And if you would like to join the Legion of Super Sponsors or any number of our levels here, you can be an ace reporter, you can be a snappy listener, you can be a boardroom boss, and that gives you different things for your monthly membership. And so you can just go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. And I guess we should tease what we're going to be doing this week. We need to get to our quarterly reviews. So we're going to look at an animated film that's old to me, but new to Morgan.
It was new to me. When was this made? This was the early 2000s.
Let's see. So Justice League New Frontier. I'm having to look it up. I remembered when it
should be on my HBO Max playlist. HBO Max, the great functionality of streaming services. You know what's really funny is that so the way that I try to promote HBO Max, I'm going to do the opposite with Peacock. Peacock is such a crappy app right now that they've been doing commercials like, you can add things to your watch list. Can you believe it? And it's like, yeah, like the basic functionality that every streaming site has. Is that what you're trying to tell me is exciting for me? It's so funny. It's so funny. Which is to say, HBO Max, give us your money.
We
love you guys.
We are Maxinistas.
2008. I
just
really
like
thought
Frontier.
I was going to say, oh, it was made in like the late 90s, right? I was a little off.
Well, it does take place in the early 1950s, so it has an older vibe to it.
It has an old soul.
It has an old soul. But yeah, let's see. I'm trying to see if there are any comments that we missed. Yes. Okay. So we will be doing that this week for Supergirl Radio's Patreon. So definitely check that out if you are members of our Patreon page, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm gonna go with that.
Sound good. I think you should.
Nailed it.
You totally nailed it. I like how natural that was. But as a reminder, this is my natural progression into the next thing. We're still running our flat Supergirl photography contest. Why? If you feel like you've heard about it a lot, it's because we're running it until the show ends. When is that going to be? TBD. So that means that you have a long time to print out, cut out, and photograph flat Supergirl. And those are your instructions. So you can download and print flat Supergirl, which you can find that image in the video description of this live stream, in the show notes of the audio podcast, or at the right side, hand side of supergirlradio.com. You just cut her out and you put her on a popsicle stick. You don't need to. You can put her on a pen or a pencil, and then just take creative pictures of her. Where does she want to go? Ask her. Talk to her. Really commune with flat Supergirl. Your friends and your family are going to be worried. It doesn't matter. They don't understand you. Only flat Supergirl does. So ask flat Supergirl where she wants to go. And once you're there, take pictures. That's really important. And then post them to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook and tag @Supergirl Radio and use the hashtag Supergirl Adventures.
That was the best pitch for that.
I try. Apparently, Beaker also wants to commune with flat Supergirl. Beaker, really? You're just gonna stand right off camera? You're just gonna be the most right now? Is that what's happening?
That one time he doesn't want to be on camera.
He was like, "No, not my face, please, just my butt." You know what I prefer. All right, buddy. Okay. Yeah, no, I know. What a day you've had. We got them a self-cleaning litter box, and he's desperately afraid of it. So it's been quite the day for him, really. The self-cleaning litter box looks like a spaceship, and it's ginormous. And he doesn't know what to do with it. So that's been fun.
Well, hopefully they'll adjust and it will be good for them moving forward. Oh, man. Oh, so much at once. Okay. Well, I guess if you want to keep in touch with me, you can actually follow me on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I take the occasional picture over there on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern. If I'm not in town, I won't be doing this, but for a typical Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I will be on my personal YouTube channel at Duck Milk Prod, where I will be reading reviews from the top critics of Rotten Tomatoes of their critiques of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Learning a lot of things, really. So it's been a great exercise. I think I'm now on number 7 of 38. So I'm really, really making my way through there.
You are. You're plugging along, really.
Yeah, we're making
that's a long.
We're making a lot of progress, I think, and learning a lot of things from these people. So that's been a really productive exercise. And I guess I would also, do you mind if we take a little time for me to do a little show and tell?
Please, I love show and tell.
Because I just wanted to personally thank some people who sent me some stuff. A lot of times people are like, "Hey, do you want this?" And I'm like, well, sure, but I'll pay you for it. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay.
People are so nice.
People are really nice. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Lynn Workman. I'll put a little full screen here so people can see. He sent me a Henry Cavill Superman ornament.
Whoa.
Which is very cool.
That's going to look awesome on the tree.
I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill Superman, so that's very exciting. He also sent me some Supergirl things.
Oh, she's so cute.
She's so cute. And then there's a Wonder Woman.
Oh, Wonder Woman's also so cute.
Who's also cute. And then we have some super pets here. We got a little Ace the Bat Hound.
Oh my goodness.
He's looking
so cool.
Looking very stoic. And then we got a little Crypto.
Oh, he's so cute.
Look at his little ears turned down.
Look at his ears.
So cute.
He's a very heroic boy.
So thank you to Lynn Workman for that. I also have a couple of props. Sorry, I'm going to have to get out of frame to get that. Okay. All right. So I also put out, when we did our collectibles episode, I talked about how I was in Hawaii trying to track down some TV guides that the Danvers sisters were on, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And Donna Cromines was like, I have an extra copy. I'll send you some. And I was like, okay. So thank you to Donna for sending these issues that I was
so cool.
I was trying to hunt them down all over the different locations, the different islands of Hawaii, and I could never find them. So thank you so much for sending these to me, because I like the historical documentation of the show through things like this. And I also have one more thing, if you'll humor me.
Please.
Okay, so David Harewood put out a thing a while back. I can't remember what the date was exactly, but David Harewood put it out on Twitter that if anybody wanted some of his Martian Manhunter stuff, just to tweet him a message, and he was going to pick some people. So I replied from the Supergirl Radio account, and I left links of all the episodes we've done on the Green Martians, because we've done several spotlights on.
We've learned a lot about Martian Manhunter, I think.
We've done a spotlight on Jean.
Not his dark secret.
Not his dark secret. And we also still are not sure about everywhere the apostrophe should go.
No.
Some of that is still up in the air, but we did an episode on Jean. We did an episode on Malefic. We did an episode on Marin.
Oh, yeah.
I forget
Whichever
you prefer. And so he replied and said that I was going to receive something in the mail, and sure enough, I did. So he sent me a letter.
Ooh, zoom in.
I don't know if you can read it. It might be backwards here.
Look at Sean.
but it has his name at the top, so it's a personal.
It said, please post a shot when you receive. Oh, I hope you look after John. Please post a shot when you receive. David Harewood. That's awesome.
Yeah. So this is the John he sent me.
Oh my goodness, he's so cool.
And he signed it. Ooh, right there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I will be taking care of one of his Martian Manhunter figures, and if Morgan, if you ever want him to come live with you, we can.
It could be like a Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants scenario, but with the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. Just let me know if you ever want John's company.
We're like Martian Manhunter's divorced parents. We just shuttle him back and forth.
But yeah, so we will take good care of him. So I just wanted to thank David Harewood for not just sending me something, but doing that for a bunch of fans. Several people received things, comic books, action figures. So what a cool thing for him to do in the final season of the show that he's about to wrap up, and in this chapter of his life, he gave things away. What a cool thing for him to do. So I certainly appreciate it, and I know all the other people who received things in the mail from Martian Manhunter, from Space Dad, also probably appreciate it as well.
Space Dad's a real one. That was really cool. It's such a nice thing to do, to just give away something that's going to mean so much to somebody else. It's really nice. I love it when I see actors and stuff doing things like that. It's such a nice thing for them to do. I'm sure he has a million Martian Manhunter figures.
I mean, it would have been fine if he had just said this.
Yeah, right.
But he took it a step further and sent the action figure as well. And it is actually pretty fitting, because I don't have a Martian Manhunter action figure. I have the Supergirl one from the show, but I had been sort of waiting to get the Martian Manhunter figure. So now I have one that I can put with Supergirl, and so that's good stuff. All right. Well, Morgan, where can people find you, and what are you up to?
Well, people can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. And they can also find me as a co-host on DCTV After Dark, as well as Legends of Tomorrow podcast, which I think we're a little bit late on recording this week. We usually record on Monday nights now, but now I think we're recording on Thursday night. So the episode for this week, if you listen to Supergirl Radio and Legends, it'll be a little bit later than it usually is, but that's just scheduling, just crazy schedules this week. So I'm looking forward to talking about the episode. It's been a wild ride this season. Lots of aliens.
Lots of.
I'm like, who are you, Supergirl? But I want to know like how this relates to our like post Amade situation. Like, is Amade around? Are we gonna bump into him maybe at some point?
So is this supposed to take place in the present day?
It does. So the aliens are throughout time. It's
okay. No, okay.
So maybe that'll help to explain how Amade, Supergirl, aliens were both kind of new, and Amade had been around since like been around hanging out with George Clooney in the 90s. Like maybe this will finally explain. Maybe it'll be like, oh my God, we accidentally sent Amade to the set of Friends, and it'll all clear it up.
I think every DC TV show should have to address the Amade question.
I think so too.
Just really get into it.
I can't wait to see what the Flash does with it.
Very important stuff to examine. All right. Well, I guess that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And from now on, it's Cat Grant.
I think the CW are just trying to win the time slot war with Supergirl Radio.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.